we are. So some of us are, I guess.
Most of us are.
Most of us, a majority of us, 60% of us up here are here representing X-Strike Studios, which is a video game movie company that mostly did work like at least 10 years ago.
In the old days of MAGFest.
We've done some other stuff.
Back before YouTube.
Yeah. That's me. I'm Tim. That's Dave over there. That's Brett over there. And then these guys are joining us from Content Productions.
Woo!
That's Adam.
Hi.
Hello. That's Jason. Yeah.
Hello.
And so I don't know if any it's been a while for us to be at MAGFest 1, which means it's been a while for us to do one of these Grudge Match panels. We've done these panels before. We did one for the Legend of Zelda series. Mm-hmm. We did one for the Final Fantasy series, and we did one for the Castlevania series. And all of them went in some weird, surprising directions.
So, Tim, why don't you tell everybody how the Grudge Match works?
Well, it's a tournament. You can see that up there. So we took, when we were doing the series, it was real, nice and clean. We'd go to Metacritic. We'd look at like top lists on the internet. We'd use some science to seed these games into a bracket to truly determine once and for all what the best Zelda, Final Fantasy, Castlevania game was.
16 Zeldas come in. Only one Zelda comes out. And you, the audience, vote in real time to help make that decision.
Yes. So this year, we decided to do best licensed game, and we took all of that science and threw it out the window.
Yeah!
And we were just like, well, how about we just each nominate some of our favorite licensed games, and it's gonna be as messy and fun as possible.
You betcha. My hero. Thank you so much.
So, less scientific, but no less binding. So, of course, some things will have been left off.
This is official.
Bracket,
These results will be notarized at the end of the panel.
It will be notarized. It will be sent up to
right,
certified somewhere.
We will have these results before the House has a new speaker.
Oh, man. Topical. He's right, though. He's so right. But Dave, why don't you tell them about the voting, how that works?
Alrighty, everyone. All you need to do is on your smartphone or smart Wi-Fi connected smart device, all you need to do is go to pollev.com/David Ottavino 658. It's great, easy to remember URL, my first and last name at pollev.com/David Ottavino, DAVID, That's Otto as in car, Vino as in wine, but don't drink and drive. 658. Just go to pollev.com/David Ottavino 658, and you can vote on your favorite game in each matchup. Now, if you've been to a Grudge match before, you might remember it used to be a free-for-all where everyone could vote an unlimited number of times and grossly skew the results if you so desire. We're using a new platform this year that only lets you vote one time. So
that's why
cast your vote wisely
more than the other ones.
Are we voting too?
We can vote too if you want.
That's
just go to pollev.com/David Ottavino 658.
We're already
That's
debating
true. That's
and
true.
then taking in audience feedback.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, we don't have a lot. We've only got an hour to do this, so we better hustle up and get right.
This is going to be going at a brisk pace.
Because the very first vote that we need to take right now is our play-in. We need to decide which Aladdin is going to make it into the tournament. I better activate the poll. So polling is now open.
Let's go.
This is to decide whether Virgin's Disney's Aladdin for the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis or Capcom's Disney's Aladdin for the Super NES will enter our tournament. So, who's got strong feelings about either of these games? Tim, I know you. Tim, you've told me.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, if I recall, we only have like a minute or two to get through every single matchup.
Yeah, it's got to hustle
through the hours. So we're already 6 minutes in.
Gosh.
So yeah, my piece on this is I feel like most people love the Genesis game more, and I don't understand why exactly. I have always preferred the Super Nintendo version. I think I love the graphics. I love the animation. I think it's very fun hopping and bopping through the movie of Aladdin, and then people are like, well, the Genesis version has the sword. And I'm like, I just don't think it's as fun.
All right, I'll tell you what. The SNES game is a better platformer. It's got tighter controls because it's by Capcom and not by Virgin. You know, the Genesis game is a slippery Euro platformer. But as a representation of cinema in video game form, Virgin was allowed to use the original animation cells, and that's why it's got that beautiful animated look. And this was Tommy Tallarico's very first soundtrack, and honestly, it kind of shows, but at least it's the tunes from the movie, whereas the Capcom game, it's completely original music. And it's Aladdin. It's an unforgettable score. The game should incorporate the music from the movie. I say I agree that the Capcom game is a better video game, but I think the Sega game is a better representation. It's a better of the film in gameplay form. But so far, the audience does not agree with me.
Other panelists, do you care to weigh in?
No, I was largely derailed when he started by saying Disney's Aladdin Virgin, and I thought he was going to say, we'll pick number one as some kind of weird condescending situation.
That's where Adam's
Wholly
mind goes.
distracted. Yes, it goes immediately to Virgins, and then second, who would defend the work of Tommy Tallarico in any shape or form?
2022.
Yeah.
That guy invented the oof sound in Roblox.
Yeah.
So
that's a vote
that's why I'm
against.
voting for the SNES game. I feel like we're here. That's here. The Sega version does look.
Oh, we are deadlocked right now, and we are at 2 minutes. We must come to a decision.
Yeah, all right. So everyone. Oh no! But I haven't voted yet either. That's going to bring us right back to
Time's almost up.
time's almost up.
You gotta
Time is
stay
up.
one step ahead
Wow.
of the SNES.
All right. Well, that means that every time I shift my laptop slightly, the picture disappears. All right. That means the SNES version is the one we are going to roll with. So that brings us to our very first matchup, which you can vote on at pollev.com/David Ottavino 658. Our first matchup is DuckTales for the NES versus Guardians of the Galaxy. All right.
Yeah, Jason, go.
Jason, go. Why is it Guardian of the Galaxy?
So I feel like obviously, look, DuckTales NES is a stone cold classic, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you why it isn't. But Guardians of the Galaxy was one of the most surprising video games I've played in the last couple years. I don't personally have any attachment to the license at all. And I actually went in with very low expectations because it came right after the Avengers game that had come out. It was not very good. And it was just an absolutely rock solid, third-party action game or a third-person action game. I really got attached to the characters and the dynamics through it. It has really good pacing where you sort of go on these 45 to 1 hour long missions and sort of come back and chill. It makes for a very nice, evening sit down, get a drink, play through a level, come back, get there. Something really impressive and something you don't see that quality of with a license recently. So yeah, Guardians is great.
But DuckTales is DuckTales. Again, Capcom platformer.
I would like the panel to talk about, obviously the DuckTales soundtrack is arguably the best of all time. I'd like to hear some arguments about the game itself, which I don't necessarily think is bad, but especially among other Capcom platformers, it's fine, it's good, it's okay.
I think the pogo mechanic is so influential, especially to today's
There are a
2D
lot of
indie
pogo
scene.
games these days.
I also think that because we're talking about licensed games, we're talking about the representation of the source material, and it was always hard with NES games. You were working with small sprites, and it was hard to, and it wasn't a lot of colors. But the game is really colorful for an NES game. It almost feels like it gets it's cheating and getting more colors out of the palette than it should be able to. And
Capcom, they were wizards at that.
Right, yeah. And as somebody who watched DuckTales a lot as a kid, obviously the game doesn't necessarily follow the plot of any particular episode, but it always felt like you were playing an episode of DuckTales.
And what a wonderful variety of levels and locales.
Gonna counter that by saying Guardians, if we're talking application of IP into the media, that allows you to be Star-Lord and navigate the dynamics of leadership and teamwork more so than any other piece of Guardians media. media.
It's true.
It's more successful at that than the Telltale series, and it's more effective than that representation is portrayed in the movies, because you do make choices in regards to your cast members or crew members that impact the missions, the stories, and the narrative itself.
But if you have a 7 in your score, will Launchpad McDuck pick you up and take you to the sky and
name
drop
is Launchpad
diamonds on
McQuack.
Launchpad
Launchpad
McQuack.
McQuack.
Sorry.
Incest,
Dare you sully the name of Launchpad McQuack?
Well,
blabbering,
the audience is
blabbers guy.
well, folks, at this point, I don't know that
Fight
Guardians of
Fin
the
Fang
Galaxy
Foom
can
and
clinch
DuckTales.
it.
That's all I'm saying.
This is
how are we doing
There we
on
go.
time? Do we need to
Somebody-
call it, Tim?
No, we can call it. I will just say Guardians is a surprisingly great game with a really even more surprisingly engaging story. That I could not believe how much I actually enjoyed it. And
I'm delighted to see it represented on our list.
yeah, and DuckTales is of course a classic, so I'm not surprised that this went the way it did.
All right, DuckTales takes it, and we are moving on to round 2.
Oh snap!
Round 2.
a Marvel joke.
Oh, this is brutal. Kill your darlings. It's Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes versus Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. I gotta go vote for Rogue Leader, and I love Marvel, baby. I love it, but Rogue Leader is it's a better representation of the source material.
I'll get your back on that. I do agree with where you're coming from on this. I think we don't have to spend a ton of time here. I think that's a really straightforward decision.
Wow. I'm really surprised to see the GameCube Rogue Squadron here. Like, to me, like the N64 version was like the definitive entry here. And like once we got to 2 and 3, like I feel like the level design got a little bit uneven, even as the like graphics and stuff got better. I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is like an all-timer in the genre. Like I don't know what else there is to say about that. Like
One of the most devilish things about Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as a licensed game is how they cannot keep the license to keep it on sale.
Well, that's fair. You're not wrong about that.
But
But neither has Rogue Leader been re-released, and just fully deserves to.
yeah. Did Nintendo publish that? Is that
They're
why?
interestingly
I
both
don't-
Disney properties these days now, right?
Yeah.
I guess not Capcom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom doesn't even necessarily take place in the Capcom universe. It takes place in a fun house and on a river and in a cave.
I think the earlier Marvel fighting games by Capcom are perhaps better representations of the source material. And when Digital Eclipse is allowed to do a compilation of all the licensed Marvel fighting games from X-Men, Children of the Atom, all the way up to here, then I think that work will be all-encompassing, a great representation of the source material, but not
I was going to say, but we should understate that, like, in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, those Marvel characters are, well represented with their powers and abilities and personalities.
That's true.
And all that stuff.
There's a wide breadth and variety of them.
Yeah, and there's some balance problems, but like it like makes you feel very powerful. Like we were talking in DuckTales about how good some of that animation.
Eat
was.
that mic,
Like,
Ford.
that is, like,
Eat
the
that
apex
mic,
of,
baby.
like, 2D animation and sprite. It's all good.
I'm trying to make it so you guys can see each other as you talk.
Eat that mic. Eat that mic.
That's a great.
Right up on it.
That's a great point.
All right, should we go to let's go and see how everyone's feeling about it?
DuckTales, yeah!
Wow, it's Marvel, baby,
job.
by
Good
a
job.
huge margin.
It's probably because I tried to
agree
do
with
the
the
quick
panelists.
execution throw under the bus, and everyone's like, "That's disrespectful to a game I enjoy." Bop, 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 bop. I'll show him with my votes on my phone.
Wow, really, that really skewed the results. The
I'm
results
sorry,
there,
the
Stackhouse.
double reverse.
All right, I think at this point there's no hope of Rogue Leader turning it around. This round has got to go to Marvel.
A new hope.
All right, so our next matchup, we've got the Addams Family on NES by Ocean versus Platinum Games Transformers Devastation for modern consoles or previous generation consoles. I suppose.
Who
again.
put Adam's Family?
That was me. That was me. I'll speak to it because it
Go
was
ahead,
it
talk
was a
about
game
it.
that I was given as a child, and I know
Yeah.
there were versions that were also on Master System and the Genesis, and I think they were
Super Nintendo.
pretty much the same game. And I think the way I'll defend it is, how do you make a game out of the Addams Family?
How do you?
and they turned it into a platformer, a punishingly hard platformer. By
But
the
you're
way,
Gomez in this one, right?
you are Gomez, yes. And it is based on the 91 movie because, like, generally speaking, the end result is you're trying to get into your safe. Like, and you need to, I think it's $1 million you have to, which I was never able to do even with Game Genie. But the game was...
You couldn't even cheat your way.
I couldn't even cheat my way into beating that game, but it was fun. It was a fun game, and like as hard as it was, because like I didn't have a lot of tolerance for like really hard games as a kid, and I would give them up. But somehow I kept trying with that game, and I found a lot of enjoyment in the level design, and it did, like, even though it was an NES game and you couldn't make it look like the movie. You felt like it was like you felt the inspiration from
The
movie.
SNES version was a looker.
I don't know that I ever played the SNES version.
But again, they're all by Ocean, so they are
Yeah,
all
so they probably all-
adaptations
yeah.
of the Commodore 64
Giant
/ Amiga
heads and
version.
little
Yeah.
bodies and
Yeah, and collect a million things on the
Yes,
level.
yeah.
Whereas Transformers Devastation is my favorite Platinum Games brawler because I'm bad at them.
Wow. Wait, is that
and
it?
that's all he's got to say
I
about
was gonna
that.
say they're Platinum Games kind of games that they don't try as hard with, which this is one of them, where they just get a license and they kind of throw it in a beat 'em up, which they've done with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Legend of Korra. Legend of Korra was okay. I didn't play the Turtles game, but I did play Transformers Devastation. It is again, surprisingly fun romp.
It's a good time.
It's very frenetic.
It's
It's very chaotic.
It's
very fun.
super colorful. You know, you can transform with the touch of a button. You're just having a blast in there.
It's safe to say there has never been a better translation of G1 style,
Yeah.
explicitly G1 Transformers in video game form, as well regarded as the War for Cybertron games from the previous generation were.
just a super fun game. It can get a little tedious at times, but just overall, just like a lot of fun with Transformers.
OG voice actors.
Let's home in on that sentence. The game does one thing, and if it gets a little tedious at time, this is high stakes bracket work, John. And we're in here talking about the tedium of a thing that's done mediocre versus deep drilled nostalgia with clear. I'm more of a Fester's Quest guy myself. I
As
can't.
am I. Yes, I mean, obviously
yeah, I don't
Fester's
like
Quest.
Fester's Quest.
But
I don't
at the
like
same
it.
time, I don't know. I hear these robots are okay.
Literally the
Punch,
first
punch.
time I'm a Fester's Quest guy, as said by any human being.
Fester's Quest guy.
All right, we got it.
All right, we got it. It's Transformers Devastation,
Yeah.
folks. Transformers takes it. All right, so let's gonna designate that winner there.
Fester's Quest, man.
And then
That soundtrack is a bop.
gets arrested immediately. Oh, that's the code word.
All right, our next roundup, Home Alone on the Sega Genesis, which I played on the plane on my way down here.
Did you really?
Yes, I did, to try and...
What did you think?
Oh, God, you don't want to know what I think. Versus Ubisoft's Scott Pilgrim, the movie, the game.
So, Brett, this is another one of your darlings.
It is another
Home
one of mine,
Alone,
and
I
I-
mean, obviously.
So there were a lot of really bad Home Alone. I don't know why they made so many Home Alone games, but I did like the Genesis game because there was a little bit of an open world feel to it. There's like an overhead map where you're sledding around and you can go to the different houses. And you can pre-set up traps before the wet bandits get there, and it's sort of random. You don't know where they're going to end up. And then when you go into the houses, you're able to collect items around and like build guns, and there was like an easy mode and a hard mode. The easy mode, it would just like create the guns for you, and then like the hard mode, you'd have to actually say, okay, I want to use the glue and the rubber band and the ice cream scoop and make the snowball cannon or something.
This game has big Friday the 13th on NES energy in that there's...
Oh, I think it's much better than Friday the 13th on
think?
NES.
You
Yeah,
think?
I do.
I don't know. I think when you're a kid and you have the patience to take the time to figure out exactly what the hell you're supposed to be doing, I could not suss that out.
Really?
On an hour-long
I had
ride.
no trouble. It's just like you have to get to the houses and you have to stop them from robbing all of them. You have to like inflict enough pain on them through traps or your weapons.
There's
so
there's a blue blueprint somewhere, and you can put the
Well, the blueprint is
houses-
just for adding the traps to the house.
Okay.
I figured this out when I was 8, Dave. Come on.
I was a lot sharper when I was 8 than I am now in my 40s. It's tough. I mean, Scott, okay, well, Scott Pilgrim, the movie, the game, has its issues, some fundamental issues as a brawler.
Great start.
But boy, does it nail it. It gets so many things right. What I love about it is that it feels like the book. It feels like the graphic novel, and it gives me those sort of warm fuzzies, wishing that I was a single poor early 20-somethings living in Toronto.
Don't we all?
I know, that's the dream.
Is it better than Street Fighter, the movie, the game?
Well, I think the game is actually Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game.
Versus the World, the game?
Yeah. It's fine. It's okay. It's based on the book, not the.
Do you guys have tried?
Maybe this is what it was called in other territories.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm holding my Scott Pilgrim. I think this should go pretty far.
Yeah,
I'm trying to.
You think Scott should go far?
I think
Yeah.
Scott
All right, hold on. Home Alone. Hear me out, audience.
Okay, so
This is a panel.
We talked a lot about Home Alone.
No, we haven't. This is a grudge match about intellectual property in games.
Yes.
Scott Pilgrim, the source material, the graphic novel, is game themed. To translate it into a brawler with game aesthetics, child's play, simple, easy homework. You can do
Masturbatory,
it.
perhaps?
Even a little masturbatory in a game that you said has brawler complications. Home Alone predates tower defense games. It has a unique mechanic built into the very IP wherein you are capturing people with traps, integrated into today's scene as a modern speedrunning classic. Home Alone, no-brainer here. I don't know why you guys are like, we'll talk about Scott Pilgrim later when it moves on. I got this. Sit on my horse.
I like that I got Adam on my side here.
Oh, come on. If we're talking about putting
Well, we're
IP
at
in
time. We
games,
just have
Do
to
we
go on
have
the
the crowd?
results.
Do we
Really
have the
very
crowd
good.
on our side? The crowd says Scott Pilgrim in a landslide.
wasn't worried
you can change your vote. You can change your vote.
I was like, should I talk about the music now?
Folks,
We'll wait.
don't
We'll wait
forget
until
you
there's a
can
real
vote at
competition.
pollev. If you're just joining us, you can vote for the winner of
What's
each
that URL,
matchup on
baby?
your smartphone at pollev.com/David Ottavino 658. That's my full name, David Ottavino 658. Pollev.com. You can vote there. So let's go ahead and move on to our next matchup. It is Sunsoft's Batman for the NES versus Marvel's Spider-Man. Sony exclusive. Discuss.
So I was like reluctant to even nominate Marvel's Spider-Man because it's like it's kind of the best, obviously.
Wow,
Yeah.
Tim.
I just thought it was unfair to even like put it on there, but at the end I was just kind of like, well, it is my favorite, so I guess I just have to throw that one on there.
Yeah, you loved this game. I remember you
Oh, yeah,
talking
it's
my
awesome.
ear off
Like,
about this game.
It is. I mean, they've made a lot of Spider-Man games. There was like an iteration where I was like, maybe I should just nominate Spider-Man 2, but I haven't actually played that one. But I know it was well thought of.
People love it. People love
And
it.
there was the Neversoft games
Yeah.
on PlayStation that were like okay. There's been a lot of
Yeah,
Spider-Man
the Ultimate
games
Spider-Man game on PS2's all right. Like it's
Yeah, I
getting
played
there.
that. That was decent. There was some other one, the Shattered Dimensions business with like Spider-Man Noir and all that. Lots of good Spider-Man games. This one is easily the best. Like the second you get into this game and you go thwip, it's like,
Yes.
yep.
Yeah, that game starts with you jumping out a window, and it is wildly intuitive for like a fairly complex like third-person action game. Like
Just gave Spider-Man some unfair time
immediately, like you're flying around New York, like navigating like flawlessly. If you've ever held a controller before, you're like, why does this just work? Why do I just know how to do this? It's so fluid. It feels very good.
Yeah, but I could say the same thing about wall jumping in Batman.
Yeah,
is very good.
Well, and the other point I was going to make is that sometimes I think it's hard with some of these matchups. It's like we're pitting an NES game versus a PS4 game, and like obviously the PS4. It doesn't mean
That's
that the
the
game is
fun.
going to necessarily be more fun.
And they are seated this way on purpose.
But I think that like, and I think both of these games probably. I never played the Spider-Man game, but I know that it pushed the platform, and I know that Batman. I played a lot of Batman as a kid, and that really like they squeezed every last bit out of the NES for that game. It looks great, it sounds great, it's hard, but it's not impossible. It's just such a fun game.
Yeah, I'm surprised, not surprised, but I'm heartened to see this sort of late in a turn in the years past that this Batman game, as opposed to Sunsoft's later follow-up, Batman: Return of the Joker, which for a long time was like, oh, look at this amazing game with its amazing graphics and huge characters. Now the critical thinking is turned around to be like, no, the smaller Batman fits better on the screen. The smaller proportions. This is actually the better Batman game, and it's probably true.
They were both good games, but I would say this. I think this game was better.
Spider-Man's also really good though.
Spider-Man is one of the best realized property to video game adaptations of all time.
Yeah, it really is. Even disregarding, like, I think with Marvel, or with Guardians of the Galaxy, there was always the argument about, like, well, there's some uncanny valley because audiences are used to the film stars now. Whereas I feel like you really don't have that issue with Spider-Man, though apparently the developers
they ripped his face off and put on another
Because
one.
yeah.
Now that's the PS5 version, and we have the PS4 one up.
Yeah, there is that, I suppose.
Original.
I think at its time though, when Batman came out, there had never been a licensed like movie game as good as that.
What
game.
about Home Alone?
No, if you were putting this against Home Alone, this is much better than Home Alone.
Yeah, this was released a few months earlier than Home Alone. No,
battles I
no?
choose.
I mean, Batman does follow the movie. Like, Batman is a chunky character to play around with and control and punch guys. But Spider-Man's
And those moody Sunsoft graphics. That moody Sunsoft palette. All right, let's take a look and see. How do we feel, audience? Oh, it's Spider-Man in a landslide, folks. All right, we're going to give it to Spider-Man there. And... Okay. Everyone, don't forget, you can vote at pollev.com/David Ottavino 658. I have to scroll up, so I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to see it. Here we go. Oh, look out. This is trouble, folks. GoldenEye 007 for the Nintendo 64 versus the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay.
The Chronicles of Riddick is one of the most unlikely and excellent licensed games of all time.
Stunning debut from Starbreeze.
It's a prequel to Pitch Black, a movie that I forgot existed before doing research for this panel.
No right to be as good as it is.
That was like a cult film at the time.
It was.
too.
It
Like,
was.
It was not like.
It was not successful, but it was, I think, somewhat well regarded.
Yeah, it wasn't like, they're definitely gonna make a Pitch Black game.
No, and for it to be like fantastic, like this is Starbreeze made this before they would go on to make like The Darkness and Syndicate like later on. It is like a heavy like stealth action game with like cool puzzle and adventure elements.
I believe it predates Halo 2 in its pioneering use of bump mapped textures. Give everything a lot of depth with the lighting.
Yeah, it like looks incredibly well. It plays really, really well, especially for the era. Like whether you played it on the Xbox or the PC, like 04, like felt very good. Like you felt like a big beefy dude in a prison. Like I really think this is great. Look, GoldenEye's an all-timer.
Has anyone played that game, GoldenEye?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has. But like,
Never heard of
but have you played it recently? Like a single joystick first-person shooter? Like I played the heck of that game when it came out. Like I don't want to like sit here and like say it was bad or something. Like it's incredibly influential. It's really important. But like, what game do I want to play right now? It's Riddick all day.
I would counter that with
I was gonna do Second Layer.
if that doesn't get you now if that doesn't get your loins pumping, I don't know what will, because that music
That theme,
just cuts
the
to the
Chronicles
core
of
of my
Riddick.
heart.
It's like you got hyped when they announced that Nintendo Direct like last year that it was coming to the thing you pay too much money for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, if we're the Chronicles of Riddick is it's came out of left field with being a stellar adaptation, but of a property that is perhaps not as beloved
I think that's true, but I think that it's in its favor. Like it punches above its pay grade. It's super surprising.
I know we are talking the Rumble Pack on the N64 versus the human equivalent of the Rumble Pack, Vin Diesel.
There you go.
It's really tough in that regard.
Oh, look at those meaty mitts.
I just love that GoldenEye gave us the multiplayer on Conker's Bad Fur Day, which was maybe what I played more of in college than any other game. Shooting teddies and squirrels and four screen.
No, I mean, in terms of, there is love and reverence for the source material in Rare's GoldenEye 007. That is... Are we at time?
Yeah.
Oh, we are at time. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry,
Not even
Riddick.
close.
Sorry, Mr. Diesel.
That's a real nail biter.
That's kind of disrespectful to Riddick, I feel.
That's a real
like.
nail
That
biter.
is-
Unexpected,
wow.
but a little
Hey,
disrespectful.
even if you didn't vote for it, you should go play Chronicles of Riddick.
I agree. Yeah. Again, vote at poll. If you're just joining us, vote at pollev.com/my name, David Ottavino 658. Not a part of my legal name, the numbers. All right. We are moving on to Turtles in Time versus Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Again, this is a matchup I didn't want to have to see happen because these are both just exceptional games. And especially, I think a lot of us have gotten the chance to revisit Turtles in Time with this year's retro compilation and seen just how well it holds up to John Linneman of Digital Foundry's 3 pillars of brawler design: impact, sound, and spectacle.
Oh.
Nails every one.
Side panel starts now on the impact of brawlers.
Yeah, this is tough. Dragon Ball Fighters is really a lot of fun.
It's really good.
And you know, I haven't played a lot of the numerous like Budokai, Xenoverse, Dragon Ball games that have come out. But of the ones that I have played, you know, I mean, Dragon Ball FighterZ is such a fun realization of that license. Just like very fast, fluid, responsive fighting, big explosive explosions, like just the way the game looks, the way Arxis, they have got that nailed down.
Yeah, I was blown away by Guilty Gear XR and them implementing this.
Their
these
2D
shaders.
to 3D transition.
Yeah.
It looks like you are playing the show, or at least what you remember the show looking like. It is very hyped to watch at EVO. The game is just like a blast.
That's where I'm coming from too. Like we had good Turtles games before Turtles in Time, but I felt like there were 2 decades of like Dragon Ball Z games like not quite getting there. And then not only to like raise up from like some really bad PlayStation games and sort of fumbling around for the next few generations to come out and be like so bombastic to like get the speed and energy of the show. Like I think that's a really exciting
I don't
game.
think it's fair to dock them Turtles because Dragon Ball Z took a long time to get its act together.
I'm not docking it necessarily. I think it's just what's more interesting, which one deserves the
First to
W.
the pole, baby. Cowabunga.
I would also counter with so again, if that doesn't get your blood pumping,
Your
I don't know what to
ringtone.
tell you.
Yeah.
This is Turtles in Time is Konami firing on all cylinders, just at the height of their powers. Again, like being so honorific of the source material that they had this one melody to work with, and they just weave it into so many straight. Each track in that game is a straight banger. It's colorful. It's fluid. The sound design is exceptional.
All right. well,
Okay, all right. Do we need to?
we can just, you know, I'm sure everyone voted for Turtles.
All right. Yeah, well, it's closer than you'd think. Yeah. Is there another 15 seconds there? No. Is it? Are we? Do we got to call it?
You last vote. Smash.
Smash.
Smash that like button.
Yeah. Smash that like button. All right. I'm calling it for Turtles in Time. Well argued on the part of Dragon Ball Fighter Z, an exceptional game. All right. Here we go. Round 8. The Super NES version of Disney's Aladdin versus the Burger King's exclusive $3.99 game with a Whopper value meal. I don't know how it was
First
sold.
of all, it was
Sneak
$2.99.
King. It was $2.99?
Second of all, it was
That's a
backwards
bargain.
compatible. It's an Xbox and Xbox 360 game, same disc.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think
That's
for
sick.
most creative use of a license on this whole panel of 17 games, I don't know what gets it more than Sneak King, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm making an Aladdin game. What am I going to do? You're a street rat in Agrabah doing whatever. Like whatever. Who even cares?
Yeah.
But in Sneak King, it's like, what am I going to do to embrace the power of Burger King? Well, I'm going to make a stealth game with achievement points. I'm going to be the king trying to like sneak around neighborhoods and delivering with flourish, by the way, based on your timing at which you approach a player to give them whatever they're thinking about. There's a little bubble in their head. There might be fries. There might be like a croissant sandwich. You
I'm
don't know.
thinking about
But you
fries.
get up there and you go and present as the king, and that's exactly how they react. But for some reason, if you don't sneak up on them, they're afraid of you somehow and don't want you.
Why?
I feel like because like if you're gonna eat Burger King, it's got to kind of creep up on you. Like something's sort of gone wrong in your
don't
day.
wanna make a decision.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like it's sort of a surprise, which like sort of feels like it's like, I guess Burger King. You know what I
Like
mean?
I said,
Like,
this
I
is a
feel like
very
that's-
high
that's sort of an
concept art
accurate-
house kind of
I think
idea.
so. I think there's like some real like
creativity and chutzpah like to like put out a game like Sneak King.
By comparison, Capcom's Disney's Aladdin is somewhat pedestrian, one might
Intellectually
say.
bankrupt.
Intellectually bankrupt.
Like Capcom.
Completely devoid of
I mean,
creativity.
like, that was the content of the Burger King commercials at the time, wasn't it? Was the king
Yes.
being creepy? I mean, everything
Yeah.
like that thing came out, and people were like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I think
So it
Ted
wasn't- it
Lasso
wasn't
has shown us
completely
all that an ad campaign can be turned into a successful piece of art.
Damn straight. And I think that's why we should all
Played
vote for
Yo
Sneak
Noid?
King. Oh, I hope
That's what I'm going to say.
100%.
I think Sneak King is representing more than the very concept here.
Yeah,
it's
it's-
representing Yo
about
Noid.
a
It's
time
representing
and a place.
Chex
I love
Quest.
Yo Noid.
It's representing Cool
Cool Spot.
Spot.
It's representing
It's,
MC
it's
Kids.
all of these. This is the representative of gross corporate company.
You say
wants,
gross.
Wants
I say
to.
American.
I'm fighting for it, and wants to take a product. Oh, what's cool? Video games. We'll make one of those. Here you go. That is the best of those.
What's cool? Video games. What's cool? Capitalism. What's cooler? The two together.
Here's a $3 game that makes you feel
$3? How much did
uncomfortable.
Aladdin cost when it came out? Like
It's so
$50?
accessible to the masses.
God.
Today's
It's
dollars
part
would be well over
of a
$100.
trilogy starring actual humans.
I want to give this to Sneak King, a game based on this. It is our only game based on a marketing campaign on this in this entire tournament. But let's see how you, the audience, feels about it.
Thank God.
Let's go, King.
Come on, all the way to the top, baby.
You are some avant-garde artist types because that is it's getting narrower.
Don't
though.
you dare put it down in its moment in the sun.
All right. We're calling it for Sneak King. That is some fantastic, great, good
tone,
stuff.
your voice.
You guys.
With flourish.
All right, with flourish. So, all right. All right, we got to move through these here. It is Capcom versus Capcom, DuckTales versus Marvel, baby. In game
Incidentally,
9.
Capcom versus Capcom is the next Capcom versus game that I want. Forget having to get the license, which is a pain in the butt. Just Capcom versus Capcom. That's it.
They can re-release that forever without getting the license. So, all right, this is tougher. I mean, if I'm sitting down and choosing one of these, I'm picking Marvel.
I think one of them executed on its intellectual property perfectly.
Yeah.
The other has a whole bunch of intellectual property in it.
Yeah.
And at this stage in the game, I think you go with the one that did the assignment.
One of them executed the intellectual property perfectly, but the other has a whole bunch of characters in it that do amazing things. And it's a beautiful sandbox of delights. There's so many characters.
Yeah, and because of that, it loses the focus of taking a property and distilling it into all its forms.
I'm
Yeah, I
losing
think-
my focus.
I think it kind of feels like in this case it's like Marvel versus Capcom is like, remember that guy? Well, now you can punch him in the face. Whereas with DuckTales, like there was a story behind it. There was thought that had to go into creating the plot for the game and it's
It's Ready Player One versus the DuckTales cartoon.
Now hold on. I think I'm on Team DuckTales, but I can't go that.
Although if
I can't
Launchpad
go that
McQuack
far.
was in Marvel versus
McDuck,
Capcom,
it's Launchpad McDuck.
It is tough because a lot of, Marvel's Capcom 2 is the culmination of 4 preceding games at that point, 5, 6, something like that. And a lot of the characters in it, they had already done the work of creating the sprite, making the move set. There wasn't a ton of Marvel characters that were brand new to that game, in fairness, even though that is the height of, that is the culmination of everything. It was just like Cable, Marrow. I don't remember who the other new ones were, but there wasn't
Spyro?
that many. What? Spyro, yes. No, Spyro was in Children of the Atom, wasn't he?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of ones that were like brand new for Marvel's Capcom 2, and it wasn't that many. And same thing on the Marvel side, or the Capcom side. But
Yeah, well, again,
that game is just a hoot and a half.
Yeah, and I can easily counter any argument against it with "Gonna take for a ride." So, but that is, I
Any
think.
chance to break out into freaking song over here.
But I would also say that maybe that's a knock against it because Marvel versus Capcom 2
But I could say
specifically.
DuckTales, woohoo!
Or you could reference the Moon theme,
theme,
one of the
yeah,
top
I was gonna-
maybe 10 songs from a video game of all time. It made
Yeah.
it to the cartoon. They put some lyrics on that
It
thing.
walked its way back to the thing it was based on.
Yeah, Marvel's got its own bizarre, unique identity that makes it special, but it's not really a Marvel thing.
All right.
All right, how are we feeling about it, everyone? Okay. Well, I forgot to name those because we're going so fast here. But
DuckTales is on top.
DuckTales is on top and Marvel is on bottom. So, and ever so slightly, gee whiz, everyone, DuckTales is ever so slightly on top.
All right, well,
and time is up, so we got to call it.
That's
We got to
close.
call that
Very
is
tight.
super close, but it's DuckTales by a feather. So that brings us on to Thank you for catching that. All right, it's Transformers Devastation versus Scott Pilgrim, versus the World, the game. And I will. Let's see if I can. I'm going to go ahead
you
and
can do here, Dave.
Yeah, let's see what I can do here.
poll open.
All right, everyone else talk about it, please,
Oh, okay.
while I actually type in what the games
Let me
are.
actually just do this. And then
They know what they are.
Okay. Yeah, just vote. We're done.
Transformers.
Yeah, we'll figure it
No,
out.
they know which one's which.
yes.
We all
Okay,
know
so
which one.
we all know.
We're wasting time.
All right. Yeah. I mean, between the two, I have a lot more feelings for Scott Pilgrim. I don't know. Are you dissing its like beat 'em up mechanics there, Adam? Earlier.
Well, yeah, I was jumping off when Dave said, "Well, it has some problems there,"
I was
but
surprised
and I
about
think
that.
it does.
Enemies stay on the ground way
I
too
think
long.
it is a little slow to get like going to build up your move set, but man, once you get over that initial hump, it is awesome. It feels real good. The combos you're stringing together in that game.
I mean,
I think it's a better, more complex game than Transformers, and I think they are both just These are both really, really fun rides through their respective worlds because they're realized so well from an audio-visual standpoint.
I think Transformers got to this point by being like a fun, hyperkinetic platinum game, which like they do well. But sort of now in this round, it's like, well, it's not, it's going to take me a while if I'm listening rad like platinum games before I get to Transformers. Where if I'm talking about like kick-ass beat 'em ups, like Scott Pilgrim is near the top of my list, certainly for games made in like the modern era, I would say.
now, in a world that has justice, this would be the Addams Family versus Home Alone. But instead, we're just here in this empty, depraved pit of scorn where I have to look at these two. Scott Pilgrim is probably on paper the better game. However, is it the better property game? Transformers is big dumb robots smack 'em ups. Scott Pilgrim came from a video game themed graphic novel and they made a basic video game out of it.
They did not make a basic video game out of it.
Apathetic Canadian looking for love.
Like
It's relatable.
there are homages to games like all kinds of the place. We haven't even talked about the Anamanaguchi soundtrack to
Oh
that
my
game.
God, what a
which is
soundtrack.
an absolute like banger all timer. Like
Well, no, they
Totes.
it is the story of the comics. It is a simple one to adapt back, like you said. It has a lot of video game flows to it, but there's so many like details and references back to those books, and they adapted the art style so well to it as well. And it has a story, and it has like all these little like pieces in all the stages. So it is more than, I mean, like Transformers Devastation. Like it's not based on any particular part of Transformers other than just like kind of G1, and then they have to throw in a ton of random Decepticon peons over and over again, which you wouldn't see in the show, to fill out these beat 'em up stages.
The Scott Pilgrim team worked on the Game Boy TMNT movie-based beat 'em up, then went on to the Star Wars Episode 3 portable beat 'em up. So they had 2 games experience making this kind of game, and then of course went on to form tribute games.
Time.
What?
Time.
And it's time. All right, everyone.
The last 15 minutes.
We are. It is. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's Scott Pilgrim, and we're down to our last 15 minutes. All right. Then we got a book.
We're doing, I mean, like it times out well. I'm just
Okay.
trying to
Well,
keep
that's
an eye.
good. Great. All right. It's Spider-Man versus
Right on
GoldenEye.
time.
GoldenEye.
Well,
Yeah. Spider-Man versus
I
GoldenEye.
mean, how
All
well
right,
will
that's a little
Spider-Man
preview of-
hold up in another 20 years?
Well, Spider-Man's doing pretty well right
It
now.
will.
incredibly well, I think.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I mean, to GoldenEye's credit, like that also
007.
kind of came out of nowhere
Save.
as a licensed game.
Oh,
it was
man.
well after GoldenEye actually came
Oh,
out.
stuff.
It
Oh,
was,
look at these.
for
Look
sure.
at these
2
numbers. These
years.
numbers are wildly fluctuating, people.
And does a pretty solid job of adapting the movie. They expand where they need to, and Marvel Spider-Man. It is just based on the character. Spider-Man gets licensed a lot, but man,
It does. I think that makes it like a little bit more impressive because there's a million bajillion Spider-Man adaptations of varying qualities, and like I feel like at that time there was even a little bit of fatigue for the character, and so to come out and like say, hey, we're not going to do the origin story again. You've seen a million times. Let's jump right in the middle of the story, like sort of play the hits for the heroes, but also like just make you feel like that character, right? Like even
in an open world game like that, even the side stuff just traversing around feels so good. In a way, it feels tedious in other games like that.
Will we feel that way about it? And will we feel the same way about the way that we feel about GoldenEye in 20 years? Which is that it is, yes, it's a product of its time in terms of FPS design, but it was also
And the multiplayer,
instrumental, and the multiplayer. Yeah.
It was a moment in time. I've talked a lot, but yeah, it felt like GoldenEye was a definite moment in time. Like there's really not that many split screen first person shooters anymore. I mean, you play on your own thing, and even by the next console, like within 5 years, like it was kind of dual stick shooting had taken over as a control scheme.
Right. 3 years later, there's Halo, and then we're done. We're in the modern era.
Where's our voting standing on this?
Our vote right now. I'll tell you where we're standing here. It's boy.
Okay, I'll speak to 007.
All right.
I can't think of another video game that adapts the existing structure, beats, and locations of a movie into video game form 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you name any other game that takes an actual movie and turns it into an equally successful video game?
Batman for NES. Home Alone for Genesis.
Well, it worked so successfully.
The Addams Family.
And it
Look
worked
how well
so
they did on these.
That
voting.
years later,
I
they
think
could
the
take
audience
the plot
knows.
beats of the exact same movie and remake the game. And it was not a remake of the GoldenEye game. It was just another FPS based on the movie. And it was super. Then they swapped out Daniel Craig for Pierce Brosnan, of course. But it was, and most people took it to be a remake of the Rare game. It was not, but because the Rare game was such a close adaptation of the film,
Right. All right. That looks like Spider-Man.
it did
on.
Spider-Man
Great
anyway.
job.
All right, it is Spider-Man.
Oh boy, here we go again.
All right, okay, yep.
Oh.
Here we go. Here we go again.
All right. We
Turtles
know,
versus Sneak
we
King.
know what we have to do. Just get the king through, and we'll talk about it more in a minute. It's going to be Sneak King versus Spider-Man. Get us there.
Let's go ahead and get the king through. Again, I feel like, in a lot of ways, I feel like this is the wrong TMNT brawler to be on this.
It should be
bracket.
Shredder's Revenge.
It should be. Oh well, maybe, but I was thinking the arcade game.
Or those.
Like-
Those two are both better
true.
realizations of the Turtles in time.
Again, Sneak King, so creative,
Sneak
so
King-
impactful, such a value, by the way.
Sneak King is
your
a
meal's costing
masterwork.
more than the Sneak King.
It transcends video games.
Yes.
It transcends video games.
It's
as
cheaper
far-
than a Whopper.
It is.
And possibly more hours of entertainment, depending on what the
easily.
Whopper does to your stomach.
Wait, I mean...
And charitable. I feel like the turtles. Let's be honest. They're freaks of nature. They shouldn't exist. They're at a.
So is a king. So is a king. So is a king.
The Whopper.
No.
And the Sneak King is feeding hungry people. Oh no.
The king is also a freak of nature.
No, but
This is the freak of nature.
He's standing right behind me, isn't he?
We haven't specified whether we're talking about the arcade version or the SNES game. And the
Sneak
SNES
King?
box
It's a
art
picture
is
of the
there.
SNES game.
It looks like a picture of the SNES.
It is a picture of the SNES game, but I'm basing it on the release of the arcade game because while they're fundamentally the same game, something we haven't talked about is that they are two excellent versions of the same game that are both worth playing. One for the 4-player multiplayer and the other for the original levels and some might argue slightly better balanced moment-to-moment gameplay.
Oh, that sounds boring compared to the king going up against Peter Parker.
Yeah, in one of these games you're royalty, and the other one you're just like a weird sewer guy. I don't know. Weird sewer guy.
It's Konami's best brawler. It is easily Konami's best brawler, and some people have argued that The Simpsons might be superior. There was, of course, the 6-player X-Men cabinet, but this really is not only is it Konami's best brawler, it bests many of Capcom's efforts.
Yeah, keep naming things that are better than it while we talk about the best product video game of all time on the other side of the screen. That's great.
I don't really have a lot of nostalgia. I didn't have Turtles in Time for Super Nintendo, and I feel like I didn't play it a lot in the arcade, so I can't really very passionately
That's
go
fine.
to bat.
So,
So,
right,
so Sneak King is what you're saying.
it's sneaking.
I also didn't put, but I'm just putting down Turtles.
I'm arguing
Like
that
sneaking
nostalgia
because
for Turtles
need
isn't
something to
necessary.
look
It's that
forward to
good.
in your life.
Yeah,
and
when I
you can
retire,
always
that's what I will play.
right.
Sneak
You can
King.
always you've always got something to look forward to.
If you've played the Cowabunga collection, you know that Turtles in Time holds up.
And if you played Sneak King, you know that it holds up.
I only play it on
we're gonna have to
original
go to the
Xbox
results,
hardware, though,
Dave.
not 360. All right, we're going to the results, and it's surprisingly close. Oh no! That is way closer
Who
than
hasn't
it
voted?
should be. Someone
Someone vote for burgers now. Come on.
Burgers.
This cannot be happening.
All right, we need to put it to a panel vote then.
No!
All right, the 5 of us on our panel.
It just changed.
All those who vote for Turtles. All those who vote for Sneak King.
Let's go!
Democracy in action, baby.
How is this happening right now? What timeline is this?
We're putting
This is
good
pure
video games forward.
chaos.
That's the whole point of the panel. The
All
good
right,
ones-
we
the
need
good
to
ones advance.
we need to move on to DuckTales NES versus Scott Pilgrim the movie, the game. We got 10 minutes
This
left,
is-
so we got to hustle.
If I was voting based on soundtrack, this is a dead heat, boys. Like
Yeah.
this is a tight one.
We're not voting.
We're not. I'm just saying. Like this is the first one where I feel like I don't have a clear favorite.
Scott
personally.
Pilgrim should have gone away rounds ago.
Like that is a phenomenal video game.
It's
Like,
a
the
great
vitriol
game,
you
but,
have
but
for
we're
it-
talking about properties. We're talking about taking and adapting property and turning it into a video game. And Scott Pilgrim's book was almost a gosh-forsaken video game.
I think you can make the argument that Scott Pilgrim is the Guardians of the Galaxy to the original work because it was a better representation of the original work than the film was. I would
I
argue
agree with that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying which Guardians is a better Guardians than Guardians?
Well, I feel like Guardians is better Guardians.
Are you talking about the movie Guardians? The Guardians of the Guardians?
Anyway,
Thing.
if you need to vote, go to polev.com/guardians.
DuckTales has so many endearing characters. Launchpad Duck Quack. McMewy Quack Duck.
You're just saying words now.
Quack McDucky Q. Yeah, they're all there.
We agree that the NES original is superior to the Way Forward remake, yes? That's what the Way Forward remake is not on this list. That's
I think
why
it's a little unfair to it,
I
but
think that's a little unfair. I think that remake was really good. I'm not necessarily.
I think it was loving.
I think it was loving. Yeah. I thought the like remixes of the music were good. I don't know if I'm going to say it's better, but it's not like they ruined it or anything. I think
No,
they're both
no,
very
no.
valid.
The last performance of the original voice of
Yeah.
Scrooge
That's
McDuck,
true.
Alan, what's his name? Sherman. No. Alan.
yeah, super respectful, Dave. No, I do think
I
that
love
the
voice
original,
actors.
like the look of the original, the look of the new one is a little more subjective.
I agree with what you're getting at. Like the original is an impressive like display of the NES hardware.
And I think
it does a good job.
the Moon, the soundtrack's good, but I think the Moon deserves either chiptune or a full orchestra. There's nothing in the middle. Those are the two ways that song bangs.
Yeah.
I beat DuckTales in a rental.
Well,
Fair.
rental-
It's not-
in a
it's
rental
not
car?
It is not a difficult game.
Boast
This is
much?
true.
No.
Especially for NES.
But that felt good when I was a kid.
That's
I was like,
true.
Oh my God, I actually finished this game. And the pogoing is really fun. And Scott Pilgrim, it is tough to get going in it because you have to kind of build up your character a little bit. But it is a blast to replay with multiple characters. Not really much replay value in DuckTales unless you're becoming a speedrun champion. Both banger soundtracks.
Yeah. I would count that in DuckTales' favor, actually, is that unlike a lot of other NES platformers of its time and games like, I don't know, Home Alone for Genesis, there are very clear goals in DuckTales. It's not a simple game by any means, but the goals are very, very clear and easy to understand.
And there's a lot of hidden things in DuckTales too, which I appreciated. Like that you could get a slightly different ending at the end instead of the treasure chest. There was the mountain of gold if you accumulated enough money, which was cool. I
It
liked
paved
that.
the way for, okay, well, you're only going to find out about that fun fact if you're moving on DuckTales. So far around. Woo-woo.
All right, should we take a look at the polling, everyone? Let's see where we stand. Well, it's DuckTales by
Nice.
a significant margin, everyone. All right, so
Spank.
at this point, I think we can safely call it DuckTales NES is the winner of that matchup. Here we go. Our next matchup, it's Marvel
You know what you
Spider-Man
have to
versus-
do. You know what you have to do.
All right, people.
both really.
Let's be
important
serious,
games
though,
about
for a minute.
traversing
Come on.
An urban environment.
Look, we've been dicking around for almost an hour here, but let's get serious, okay? This is video games.
All right, let's get Sneak King out of
Let's
here.
get
now.
No,
Come on,
no.
voted Sneak King
It's
through to have
time.
an easier matchup for Marvel Spider-Man. Let's just get this.
Lock it up, guys.
That's so dirty. He did that for his Spider
You,
Boy?
you might say he sneaked up on Spider-Man.
Yeah. What a thoughtful mechanic that would make for an affordable video game.
Seriously, I haven't played Sneak King, but I got every achievement in Marvel Spider-Man.
Again, I think we've talked about how Sneak King was an incredibly reasonably priced $2.99. Marvel Spider-Man, if you want to play that on the PS5, you got to buy it again. Your PS4 version will not give you that automatic upgrade.
Is Sneak King backward compatible though on modern consoles?
It'll play in 30
Is
frames per
Sneak
second.
King fully backwards compatible on Xbox Series X?
Do we know that?
I don't. That's a great question.
That's a great question, isn't
Now
it?
it's again, as I mentioned, fully backwards compatible on Xbox.
5
As I
minutes
know,
left.
the only game, one disc, Xbox 360 and Xbox original. Pretty impressive. Again, that's like a double value you're getting for $3.
Sneak King belongs in the final.
This panel will be true chaos. if
Spider-Man
Sneak King makes it to the final.
Adapting a comic book
hey,
character. to
Spider-Man's a great
It's
game.
the best realization potentially of a comic book character within a video game. It is high up there, but it's made it all the way to this noble point in the competition.
Yeah, that's why I
Sneak
mean it's here.
King.
It's in the final four, and it's as it should be.
Yeah,
and that's where it should stay.
We're talking about the adaptation of properties into video game form. Sneak King
Right.
is Burger King.
Right. When Spider-Man came out, there were 60 years of like, here's how to tell a great Spider-Man story. Here's how to do a great Spider-Man thing. They just copied and pasted that into a game.
Bing, bang, boom.
Burger King,
They're
I can't
how do
believe
you
we're having
make- how
this
do you make
conversation
a
right
thing
now.
out of a hamburger,
No.
and they did it. They fully realized it. Did I mention there's achievement points?
I'm not sure how I feel about inviting you guys
secret
on this
hamburger
panel
delivery.
No.
All right. let's Dave.
All right, people. It's so. God.
I love everybody here.
people
I love
are
everybody in
monsters.
this.
What are you doing?
right now? Champions.
I think we
We're
know how
making
this is gonna
MAGFest
end.
memories, all of us together. Let's
Oh
go.
my God.
Okay, I can't. No, you can't. All right,
People.
you can't vote Sneaking over
Please.
Ducktales.
You-
I can sleep tonight.
All right. Well, here we. Okay.
Finally, the finals we all knew we were going to have. The NES Classic, one of the best regarded games for the system and licensed games of all time, with a fantastic soundtrack, DuckTales versus Sneak King.
Are you going to say more about it like you did DuckTales?
No, I don't have anything else really. Oh well, it was $2.99. You got it for a drive-through with the Whopper.
What else can be said?
You
Really?
can go into the store and get it. If you don't have to go through the drive-through, they would sell it to you through the drive-through.
Yeah.
How many polygons does DuckTales display at once? Huh?
Sneak King has
Okay, wait, no. Let me hear about the Sneak King soundtrack.
Yeah.
Is it
What
just
about it?
screams?
Did the
You're-
actor
you're
that played the
sneaking
king
in
in
the
the
game.
commercials
Go in
come
there
back
and
to
vote.
voice the character?
Oh, he's quiet. The soundtrack is very chill, you know.
Oh, it's very chill, is it?
Chill or chilling?
Oh.
Now the opening to Sneak King is chilling. It's
Yeah.
live action. It's a video of the king creeping around, popping out through the bushes.
Listen.
Oh,
this is the overworld theme to
This
Sneak
is
King.
true. You're in a cul-de-sac trying to give burgers and sandwiches.
This is Elden Ring level.
That sounds cool and good.
yeah.
I would love to see a
Right.
This is much better than the moon.
of Elden Ring scope.
All right, people. Again, this
That's
is an
literally
adaptation
the
of a
only way
marketing
I think it makes
campaign
Sneak King
versus
better is if you
DuckTales
leave
versus
messages
Capcom's
to other players
DuckTales.
about like, this game is so good. Oh, if you walk over here, you're gonna feed someone who's real hungry.
Okay, that's a YouTube poop.
Which-
Okay,
that's
no,
okay.
okay.
None of
People,
that.
all right. Let's see if you people have made the. Oh my God.
Okay.
People, please come on.
Screw this up. That's it. Oh, it's time. Panel's over.
Panel's over. Everybody go home.
Volunteer.
Who is
Panel's over.
gonna-
Wrap it up, wrap
There's
it
a
up.
level in the.
Wrap it
We
up.
just
wrap it
gotta
up. Wrap it up.
son.
There's a level. Yep.
Let's wrap it up.
We have to wrap it up with Creep Show King?
We got
No, that's it. We got to wrap it up.
We gotta wrap it up. We gotta wrap it up.
You guys,
Well,
Gotta wrap it up.
the winner is Sneak King. Everyone, your best licensed video game of all time is somehow Sneak King.
certifiably.
Number
You
one
people
with a
are
bullet.
certifiable.
Anyway,
You people are bonkers.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to this panel. I hope you're entertained. I am told to remind my audience that the panel can be rated in Guidebook. We used it, not we, like MAGFest used the information to evaluate how well our panel did. So please say nice things or say things about us.
And
I
please,
think we know how I'd evaluate this.
and please check the guidebook for the future panels this weekend by Content Productions and X Strike Studios.
Yeah.
We'd love to see you back.
Yeah, plug your stuff for tonight.
Oh yeah. If you enjoyed this, we got a game show coming up at 8 o'clock called "Everything You Love Is." Is it called a lie? What do we end up with? Everything You Love Is Stolen. That's in panels 4 at 8 o'clock. And then if you like live tabletop, I DM a comedy troupe out of Richmond that does live role-playing game themed comedy things. We've been doing it at MAGFest for 8 years, and we got a show over in the tabletop building at 9:30. It's called Roll for MAGFest.
Don't miss that one.
It's fun.
X-Strike panels, Sunday morning, 11:30. We'll be talking about the movies. And video game Name That Tune is Saturday afternoon. So check that out. That's always a good time. Get there
Thank
early
you
if
so
wanna
much.
sit.
Thanks, everyone.
You guys have great taste.
You are terrible monsters, all of you.